Buddy, what's going on? We finally know where the Montreal Canadiens are selecting in the 2024 NHL Draft, and there's plenty to dive into in this video. But before we do that, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It's as easy as clicking in the bottom right-hand corner of this video. The Montreal Canadiens didn't have the fortunes of luck on the draft lottery on Tuesday, and unfortunately, they didn't manage to select one of the top two picks in this draft class, but they still didn't move down in the order, so they will be selecting fifth overall in the 2024 NHL Draft, assuming they don't trade up or trade down with their selection. I would put both of those percentages kind of low, but there's still a distinct possibility that that could transpire at the NHL Draft. We know that Ken Hughes and company does have interest in players such as Ivan Demidov and Caden Lindstrom, two players that may or may not be on the board by the time the Montreal Canadiens select with the fifth overall pick. Demidov is much more likely to not be on the board than Lindstrom is. Lindstrom, I would say there's probably a 50-50 chance he's on the board with that fifth overall pick, and it would not surprise me if he's there, that the Montreal Canadiens do select the big centerman out of Medicine Hat. He brings a lot of the qualities to the table that the Canadiens are looking to build around. If you look at their recent draft picks, they're trying to build a playoff style team that can win in the summer months of the year, and I think that they're succeeding so far in doing that. You look at Slavkovsky, you look at the big blue line that they're building. There's a lot of qualities you see in the young Montreal Canadiens right now that you see in the teams currently playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs, whether it's the New York Rangers, the Dallas Stars, the Colorado Avalanche, and I think that's a positive for this Montreal Canadiens team. But in terms of prospects that they're likely going to be looking at, I think you're looking at Caden Lindstrom at the fifth overall pick. I think you're looking at TJ Ginla with the fifth overall pick. And I think those are two of the names that you have to keep the most eye on as we stand right now. Of course, there's possibilities that the Canadiens trade down. They potentially select someone like a Beckett Seneke out of Oshawa, but there's just a lot of unknowns when it comes to these rising players in this 2024 NHL draft class. The Canadiens clearly covet a forward, but there's always the possibility that the Canadiens look at a defenseman at the fifth overall pick with a value that is just too good to pass up. If there's a potential there that the Montreal Canadiens like one of these defensemen a lot, you kind of build a bunch of riches on the back end for this team, and you trade from that strength to acquire a top forward in the NHL somewhere else along the line. And I think that's a possibility, although I think it's probably unlikely just because of how we've heard Ken Hughes talk about this draft class and what they're likely looking to do when it comes to the fifth overall pick. There's a lot to be excited about, though, with this draft selection. I know that a lot of people wanted the Canadiens to take a forward last year and instead selected David Reinbacher, but if you look at the playoff style of hockey that's playing right now in May, it's hard to say that Reinbacher won't be effective in that style of play one day. And with the blue line that the Canadiens are building, Reinbacher will likely play a big role in that one day. So I think there's value in that fifth overall pick that the Montreal Canadiens decided to use last year on Reinbacher, and they're likely going to use it on a forward this year. So I think that this offseason is going to be a big one for the Montreal Canadiens. It would be surprising if the Montreal Canadiens didn't trade the Winnipeg Jets pick they received for the Sean Monahan during the trade deadline this season. I think they'll likely use that pick to trade for a potential top six forward and scoring depth, or they'll also potentially use it to move up in this draft into the teens to potentially select someone they covet as a forward as well. So I think there's a lot to look forward to when you think of the Montreal Canadiens this offseason, and the draft is at the forefront of that attention for now as well. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, let me know in the comment section down below who you think the Montreal Canadiens should select with the fifth overall pick in the 2024 NHL Draft. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.